Isang magandang araw po ang aking pagbati sa inyo sa pangalawang linggo ng taong 2021. Welcoming you to Bread of Life, GenSan's Sunday online streaming. Nais ko po sanang bumati rin kayo kung saan lugar man po kayo nanonood or in any language or dialect po na pwede kayong bumati sa ating pong broadcast ngayon. Muli po, aking pong kayong nire-request that you could share the link to some friends or family members so that we might be able to pass on a message to them. And we have been appreciating po, natutuwa, nagagalak po kami sa ilan po sa inyo na mga nagko-comment along the way. At sa pagkatapos po ng ating broadcast, nag-react, nagbibigay po ng comments. Tuwan-tuwa po kami sa inyong mga comments. And we're encouraging the others po, mag-comment din po kayo along the way ng ating message. Ating pong paninimulaan ang ating pag-aaral sa araw na ito. We're going back on our study on managing your ego. And ang source nga po natin, for some of you, probably first time po makapakinig sa atin, ang source po natin ay galing sa libro ni Ryan Holiday entitled Ego is the Enemy. And so far, we have tackled, unang-una po ang part 1, which is aspire. And ang theme po ng part 1 na ating tinalakay is to be humble in our aspirations. Sa iyong paghahangad na umangat sa iyong buhay, napakahalaga yung kababaan po ng puso. And we tackled at least 6 principles po diyan. Hindi po natin tinalakay lahat ng mga portions na diniscuss po ni Ryan. I just shared with what I think is relevant and talagang saktong-sakto po para sa ating kapanahunan. So, natapos po natin yung part 1. And yung last po natin na pag-tackle po ng mensahe na to ay sinimulan po natin ang part 2, which is pagkatapos ng iyong aspiration, ay most likely nakaangat ka na sa iyong buhay. Kaya ang tawag ni Ryan dito ay success. At ang major theme po ng buong portion ng part 2 na to is to be gracious in our success. Siyempre, may kababaan ka ng puso habang nag-a-aspire ka, gusto mo makaangat sa buhay. Pero pag umabot ka na dun sa success sa iyong buhay, kinakailangan, related pa rin naman sa humility, which is to be gracious with people and to be able to somehow makontrol po natin yung ating ego. Kaya nga po, ang main point dito is to whatever success you have achieved, ego is the enemy. Nananatili pong, kumbaga, should we say, kaaway natin ang ego habang nagpapatuloy po tayo sa ating success sa buhay. At ating pong last time na tinalakay po, particularly, ang buhay po ni Howard Hughes. Kung i-recall po natin, ang naging supposed to be successful lang kanyang buhay, of course, with the definition ng success ng tao, ng mundo, na marami siyang karangyaan, pero actually, nasira ang buhay niya. Dahil, siyempre, sa ego. And sisimulan po natin sa araw na to, ang ilang mga principles po na pwede po natin maintindihan at malaman pagdating po dito sa ego. At ang unang-una po dito, ang unang tatalakayin natin, again, coming from the book, Ego is the Enemy, is itong principle po, always stay a student. Kung gusto mo mapanatili ang pag-asenso sa iyong buhay, manatili kang estudyante. Doon sa unang portion po ng Aspire, tinalakay po natin, become a student. Maging estudyante ka. Pero pag nakaangat ka na, kailangan nagpapatuloy na nanatili ang iyong pagka-estudyante. Simulan po natin sa isang video clip. Ito po yung panahon po si Denzel Washington ay nakatanggap po ng isang award. At siyempre, pag nakakatanggap ka ng award, ay nagbibigay ka ng mensahe. At pakinggan lang po natin yung maiksing portion na shinare niya about success. Pagka nakapanalo ka sa buhay, ano ang dapat mong gawin? O ano ang mga prinsipyo sa buhay para talagang makapanalo ka sa buhay? Panoorin po natin ito.
I am particularly proud and happy about the young filmmakers actors, singers, writers, producers that are coming up behind my generation. In particular, Barry Jenkins. Young people understand this young man made 10, 15, 20 short films before he got the opportunity to make Moonlight. So never give up. Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. If it was easy, there'd be no Kerry Washington. If it was easy, there'd be no Taraji Henson, P. Henson. If it were easy, there'd be no Octavia Spencer. But not only that, if it were easy, there'd be no Viola Davis. If it were easy, there'd be no Michael T. Williamson, no Stephen McKinley Henderson, no Russell Hornsby. If it were easy, there'd be no Denzel Washington. So, keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So, keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.
Maganda ho talaga palagi ang pananaw nitong si Denzel Washington. Sinimulan niya, at least yung portion ng video na to, yung, he was particularly proud and happy doon sa mga sumusunod sa kanilang yapak, no, mga kabataan. And ang kanyang main na point dito ay sabi niya, they never give up. Hindi sila tumigil. Without commitment, sabi niya, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you will never finish. No, kaya it's not easy. Kaya sabi niya, hindi madali eh. And so nagbanggit siya ng mga pangalan. It was not easy for these other mga actors and actresses ito, no? And so sabi niya, bakit? No? Bakit hindi naging madali? Even for himself, of course, no? Hindi naging madali. So keep working, keep striving, never give up. No? Fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ano? Tapos sabi niya, itong portion maganda. Easy is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Okay? Yung masyadong madali, no? Nakakahadlang, no? Sa iyong progress, sa iyong buhay. So kaya sabi niya, so keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. Then sabi niya, see you at work. No? Ang ganda ng kanyang advice. No? Keep learning. Yun po ang isang estudyante. Hindi ka lang estudyante, nagsimula kang estudyante, kundi nananatili tayong estudyante. Hindi nawawala yung pagka-estudyante natin. No matter how old we are, how successful we are, somehow we remain a student. Kaya nga po isang American architect by the name of Buckminster Fuller, No, sabi niya, the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. Ang totoong pag-aaral, the more na natututo ka, the more na makikita, ang dami ko pa palang dapat aralin. Ang dami ko pa palang dapat matutuhan. No? And then dito po, no, sinimulan ni Ryan Holiday yung portion ng book niya at kinuwento niya si Genghis Khan. Let me read. The legend of Genghis Khan has echoed through history. A barbarian, itong pagkaalam natin sa kanya, a barbarian conqueror fueled by bloodlust, terrorizing the civilized world. We have him and his Mongol horde traveling across Asia and Europe, insatiable, hindi mapigilan, stopping at nothing to plunder, rape, and kill not just the people who stood in their way, but the cultures they had built. No? Sinisira niya supposed to be. Yun ang ating pagkakilala sa kanya. Then, not unlike his nomadic band of warriors, this terrible cloud simply disappeared from history because the Mongols built nothing that could last. No? Wala daw, kumbaga tinayo itong mga Mongol sila Genghis Khan. Yun ang katuruan sa atin. Yun ang pagkaalam natin. O, continuing, sabi ni Ryan Holiday, binalansi po niya, like all reactionary emotional assessments, this could not be more wrong. Mali yung ating natutukan tungkol kay Genghis Khan. For not only was Genghis Khan one of the greatest military genius who ever lived, he was a perpetual student. Yun ang kanya ng pagkategorize kay Genghis Khan, whose stunning victories were often the result of his ability to absorb the best technologies, practices, and innovations of each new culture his empire touched. Kung saan anong man na-conquer nila, kung ano man ang meron doon sa kultura na yung kinukuha niya, inaaral niya, inaalam niya, ginagamit niya. In fact, sabi niya, if there is one theme in his reign and in the several centuries of dynastic rule that followed, it is this, appropriation. Inappropriate, kinuha niya. Yung kanyang mga natutuhan, yung nakita niya sa mga lugar na kanyang na-conquer nila ng mga Mongols. Under Genghis Khan's direction, the Mongols were as ruthless about stealing and absorbing the best of each culture they encountered as they were about conquest itself. Hindi lang, siyempre parang may mga pinatay silang tao, pero kinukuha niya yung kultura, yung ano ba yung maganda dun sa lugar na yun. Though there were essentially no technological inventions, no beautiful buildings, or even great Mongol art, with each battle and enemy, their culture learned and absorbed something new. Genghis Khan was not born a genius. Instead, as one biographer put it, his was a persistent cycle of pragmatic learning, experimental adaptation, and constant revision driven by his uniquely disciplined and focused will. Grabe yung persistence niya na matuto, ina-adapt niya yung mga bagay na nakita niya na makakabuti sa kanila. He was the greatest conqueror the world ever knew because he was more often to learning than any other conqueror has ever been. Grabe, no? Hindi lang yung pagka natalo niya, sisirain niya lahat. Kundi talunin man niya ang isang lugar, no, inaalam niya, ano ba maganda dito? Kunin nga natin. Gamitin nga natin. Pakinabangan nga natin. That's why he is probably the greatest conqueror. Confucius, you know him. Ito sinulat niya, learn as though you would never be able to master it. Hold it as though you would be in fear of losing it. Alalahanin mo, matutukan mo, no, as if na hindi mo matututukan ng todo-todo. Marami kang malalaman, hindi ka magiging master doon, kumbaga. No? Grabe yung pananaw ni Confucius, the attitude of a learner. Continuing si Ryan, Khan's first powerful victories came from the reorganization of his military units, splitting his soldiers into groups of 10. Saan niya nakuha yun? This he stole from neighboring Turkic tribes and unknowingly converted the Mongols to the decimal system. Tigta-sampu, kumbaga ang grupo. Soon enough, their expanding empire brought them into contact with another technology they've never experienced before, walled cities. No? Natutukan nila yung walled cities. In the Tangut raids, Khan first learned the ins and outs of war against fortified cities and the strategies critical to laying siege, and quickly became an expert. Later, with help from Chinese engineers, he taught his soldiers how to build siege machines that could knock down city walls. No? Natutuhan niya yung pag-fortify ng city, ng mga walls, pero natutuhan din niya kung paano gibain. In his campaigns against the Jurched, Khan learned the importance of winning hearts and minds. By working with scholars and royal family of the lands he conquered, Khan was able to hold on to and manage these territories in ways that most empires could not. Afterward, in every country or city he held, Khan would call for the smartest astrologers, scribes, doctors, thinkers, and advisors, anyone who could aid his troops and their efforts. Hindi niya pinatayan lahat ng mga tao doon sa isang land na kinongker niya. Kinukuha niya yung mga magagaling at ginagamit niya. His troops traveled with interrogators and translators for precisely this purpose. Ang galing, ginamit niya. Hindi siya isang conqueror na wawasakin lahat at manatili silang barbarian. Hindi, natuto sila. Maganda yung pagkasabi ng Proverbs, sulat ni Solomon. Isang wise man si Solomon, di ba? Alam natin. Anong sabi niya? Keep hold of instruction. Do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life. No? Ang galing. No? Hawakan mo ang instruction, ang kaalaman, ang matututukan mo sa buhay. Kumbaga, tinuturo ni Solomon, kumbaga, matuto ka. No, sa mga iba-ibang bagay. Sa sulat niya, sa patuloy si Ryan, it was a habit that would survive his death. While the Mongols themselves seemed dedicated almost solely to the art of war, they put to good use every craftsman, merchant, scholar, entertainer, cook, and skilled worker they came in contact with. The Mongol Empire was remarkable for its religious freedoms, and most of all for its love of ideas and convergence of cultures. It brought lemons to China for the first time, and Chinese noodles to the West. It spread Persian carpets, German mining technology, French metalworking, and Islam. The cannon, which revolutionized warfare, was said to be the resulting fusion of Chinese gunpowder, Muslim flamethrowers, and European metalwork. It was Mongol openness to learning and new ideas that brought them together. Yun na nagpaangat. Yun na nagpaangat sa Mongol empires kay Genghis Khan. Why? They are open to learning. Genghis is as always a student. No? Sir John Marks Templeton, an American-born British businessman, said, "If you are not egotistical, you will welcome the opportunity to learn more." That's probably Genghis Khan. Yung hindi siya egotistical. Kaya nga, di ba, yun ang ating pinag-aaralan eh. Sa success natin, ang kaaway pa rin natin, ego. Yes, nakaangat ka na. Ladder of success, nakaangat ka, o mountain of success. Kapag ka hindi tayo maingat, yung ego, very subtle, makakapagpabaksak sa atin. Write down any comment. Nagyari ba sa inyong buhay yan? Nagpakababa kayo? Medyo masyado tayong umangat at lumaki ang ating ulo sa ating mga accomplishments, sa ating kaalaman, at huminto na tayo at kumbaga hindi na tayo nang patuloy sa pag-aaral. Maaring ganun nangyari sa atin. Or ang comment natin probably, yes, talagang nagpursige ko, nag-aral ako, patuloy akong nagsisik, patuloy akong nagsesearch, and nakakagulat, ang dami kong natututuhan. Write down any comment. King Solomon, again, wrote in Proverbs 1 verse 5, "A wise man will listen and increase his learning, and a discerning man will obtain guidance." Probably gano'n, In spite probably yung pagiging sa gera o masabi natin baka siyempre marami napatay si Genghis Khan, kanyang mga tauhan, pero yung being a wise man, in a sense of listening and learning, na kaya nag-i-increase ang learning niya eh. Natutong makinig, natutong magsubaybay at mag-observe. At tignan, parang sa ating buhay, laging inaalam na ano ba makakatulong sa buhay ko? Anong ba makakapagpaangat sa aking buhay? siyempre, kailangan matuto rin tayo paano ko tulungan ng mga tao makapaangat din sa kanilang mga sariling buhay. Ryan Holiday continued, as we first succeed, we will find ourselves in new situations, facing new problems. The freshly promoted soldier must learn the art of politics. The salesman, how to manage. The founder, how to delegate. The writer, how to edit others. The comedian, how to act. The chef turned restaurateur, no? How to run the other side of the house. No, kumbaga, meron ka nang naabot, no? Increase, learn some more. No? Ang sabi niya, this is not a harmless conceit. No? Kailangan, of course, on the other hand, mag-ingat. Because each victory and advancement that made Khan smarter also bump him against new situations he have never encountered before. It takes a special kind of humility to grasp that you know less, even as you know and grasp more and more. Yun po, ang ganda po yung concept na yun eh. You know, special kind of humility. Na tanggapin natin na marami pa akong hindi alam. Kahit sa mga marami na akong natutukan, marami na akong nabasa, marami na akong napakinggan, marami na akong na-experience sa buhay, marami pa rin akong matututukan. It's a special kind of humility. That's why in the scripture, the Christian scripture, if we may call it now, 1 Corinthians 8, chapter 8, verse 1, si Paul wrote, but knowledge puffs up while love builds up. Ang knowledge nakakapagpalaki ng ulo. Delikado ang knowledge. That's why Ryan Holiday would write, look at this statement na sinulat ni Ryan, with accomplishment comes a growing pressure to pretend that we know more than we do. To pretend we already know everything. Scientia infla, which knowledge puffs up. That's the worry and the risk. Thinking that we're set and secure when in reality, understanding and mastery is a fluid, continual process. Ang ganda ng pagkasulat ni Ryan yan. Merong pressure kasi sa atin. Pagka min-accomplish na tayo, parang, alam, okay na ako. I have made it. No? Abot ko na yung tugatog. No? Alam ko na lahat. Ang dapat malaman dun sa aking field. No? Without realizing, marami pa pala tayong hindi alam. At delikado, mag-puff up sa atin. That's why in another translation, yung 1 Corinthians 8:1 in the New American Standard Bible, it's rendered this way, knowledge makes one conceited, but love edifies people. In the Holman Christian Study Bible, it's rendered this way, knowledge inflates with pride, but love builds up. No? Grabe, napakadelikado ng pride o ng knowledge. Napakadelikado yung sobrang maraming alam. Kaya hindi natin sinasabing masama ang maraming alam. Ang sinasabi natin, delikado ang maraming alam kapag pumasok sa kanyang utak yon na akala niya okay na siya. Wynton Marsalis, an American trumpeter composer, 9-time Grammy awardee po ito, and Pulitzer Prize winning jazz musician, nag-advise po siya one time sa mga promising young musician on the mindset, ano po mindset na kinakailangan in a lifelong study of music. At ito po ang pagkasabi niya. Humility engenders or stimulates learning because it beats back the arrogance that puts blinders on. Diba? Yung humility napakahalaga eh. No? Kasi yung arrogance na nagkakaroon tayo ng blinder, akala natin ang ganyan, natakpan na eh. Hindi na natin nakita na malawak pa pala, marami pa palang bagay. Sa musika na kung anumang level ng musika na atin nakuha, yun ang sinasabi niya. It leaves you open for truths to reveal themselves. You don't stand in your own way Do you know how you can tell when someone is truly humble? I believe there's one simple test. Because they consistently observed and listened, the humble improve. They don't assume. I know the way. Alam niya eh. He doesn't presume. He doesn't assume na okay na siya. Consistently observing, humbly listening, improving. Kaizen as the Japanese would call it. Improving the improve. Hindi matatapos yung paano pa ba mag-i-improve. Alam, natatalakay na natin po itong mga bagay na ito, itong concepts na ito. In the past, studies po natin. Another portion sa pagkasulat po ni Paul in 1 Corinthians 4 verses 6 and 7 sa Holman Christian Study Bible. Now, brothers, sabi ni Paul, I have applied these things to myself and Apollos for your benefit so that you may learn from us the saying, nothing beyond what is written. Matutuhan mo. The purpose is that none of you will be inflated with pride in favor of one person over another. For who makes you so superior? What do you have that you didn't receive? In fact, you did receive it. Why do you boast as if you hadn't received it? Gabi yung paalala ni Paul. Bakit feeling superior ka? Parang ang feeling mo na lahat ba yan, invento mo lang? Parang hindi mo ba natanggap yan? Hindi mo ba natutukan sa iba yan? Yes, you may have added some new things in your field, in your craft, but some of the others, you have learned from other people. Hindi yung solo mo lang, na-invento mo lang na wala kang pinagkunan. No? Rarely would somebody invent if wala ho siguro na naka-invento na nanggaling lang sa idea niya. Malamang meron siya napagkuha na, meron siya nakitang pangangailangan. And so, hindi mo pipili sabihin na 100% ako lahat yan. Kaya delikadong knowledge delikadong success talaga eh. Kaya pinag-iingat tayo ni Ryan. Pinag-iingat tayo ng scripture. Maganda ang katuruan ni Simon Sinek. Sa isang video na ginawa, ang title, What's the biggest lesson you've learned? Sinabi niya dito sa kung ano ang kanyang talagang natutukan sa buhay. Isang malaking bagay na natutukan niya sa buhay. Panoorin po natin yung video.
There's a great Chinese story. It's a Chinese proverb. It's told many ways, but here's the way I heard it. A young man is born with an unbelievable gift for horse riding, and everyone in the village says, "You're so lucky." And the monk says, "We'll see." And he falls off his horse and breaks his leg, ends his career. And everyone in the village says, "You're so unlucky." And the monk says, "We'll see." And then war breaks out, and all the young men are sent off to battle, but he can't go because of his busted leg. And everyone in the village says, "You're so lucky." And the monk says, "We'll see." And the point is, good, bad, I don't know what those things are. We perceive things as good or bad because of the lens we're looking through. And what I have learned about my own life and my own career is that every strength that I have has liability, and every weakness that I have, there is hidden opportunity, right? So for example, self-confidence, really important. Got to have self-confidence, right? The liability of self-confidence is sometimes you come across a little cocky. Liability. You have to manage that. It's called humility. We like humility because what it means is I don't believe my own press, right? That's what humility is. I have these strengths and I acknowledge those strengths. I understand I have to manage them for fear that they will actually become liabilities. But the opposite is also true. So I'm disorganized, right? I'm not organized, which huge liability. Somebody says, we got to do business with you. They give me their business card. I'll lose it. And it's bad, and I beat myself up over it, and I'm like, I'm leaving money on the table. Like, I'm literally caused myself so much stress because I'm disorganized. I've tried all kinds of systems, and they're good for like a week, and then I go back to my old ways. Here's what happened early on in my career. I'd meet somebody, they say, we have to do business with me. They give me their business card. A week and a half later, 2 weeks later, I find their business card underneath something with a bunch of dust bunnies. I'm like, oh, shit, right? Everybody else who's organized already called them the next day, already sent them an email, they're all over it. I called them up a week and a half later and be like, hey. Turns out they wanted to do business with me even more because they thought I was busy. Good, bad, I don't know. Now, I'm not taking pride in my disorganization. I'm simply saying in all of my weaknesses, there are hidden opportunities. And what I'm trying to do, again, I don't believe in good, bad, right, wrong, I believe in balance. And what I'm trying to do is recognize that when I beat myself up, where's the lesson? I've stopped trying to think of things as right decisions and wrong decisions, and now I try to think of them as right decisions and lessons learned. And I will beat myself up if I didn't learn the lesson, I repeat the mistake. That hurts me. But the biggest mistake I've made in my life that caused me more pain, that I had to overcome, was the false belief that I have to know all the answers, and when I don't, I have to pretend that I do. For some reason, when we're in a position of authority or rank, or when you're the front man, you're the sales guy, having all the answers is what we think we have to have. And it turns out, when we have an answer for everything, people actually don't believe we have an answer for anything. Because nobody has the answers to everything. And the biggest lesson I learned in a professional context, in a meeting, in a sales opportunity, when somebody asks me a question, for me to say, I don't know, or let's find out together, or there are other people who are better qualified to do that than me. I remember in early sales meetings when I learned this lesson, I used to be great at everything because I had to be, right? I got to portray confidence in it as a new business. And it got to the point where it was so hard to win business that at some point, I think I was probably in a moment of weakness, quite frankly. I was probably exhausted. That's usually how one learns these lessons, because you let your guard down. In a meeting, somebody said, we want you to do this, this, and that. I'm looking at tons of money on the table, and I said, I'm really good at that. I'll do that. I'm okay at that. That, I really strongly recommend you hire somebody else because I suck at that. I'll work with them, but I won't do it. The fact that I said that, they wanted to hire me to do everything even more because they've never had anybody that honest. All the other sales guys who were pitching their business for the same thing told them they were great at anything, everything. I was the only one who said, so-so. So the whole idea of saying I don't know, even to my own colleagues, I need help, profoundly changed the course of my life. Turns out we're constantly surrounded by people who want to help us, including our own clients, but they didn't offer their help because they didn't think we needed it, because we said we knew everything. So for me, that lesson was one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in my whole career. And I think when you say it was something that went right, was having the courage to ask for help when I was in really bad shape, when I was really down, to simply call a friend and say, I'm struggling.
Ang ganda ng kanyang katuruan. Of course, nagbigay muna siya ng isang storya, yung storya po ng Chinese na yun, na actually, ang ibang storya, farmer. Kumbaga, ang kinikwento mo natin yan, maganda man o mabuti, Diyos lang ang nakakaalam. Kumbaga, who knows? Is it good or is it bad? No, depende yan. No, kaya sabi niya, what I have learned about my own life and my own career is that every strength that I have has a liability. And every weakness that I have, there is hidden opportunity. Kaya, good or bad? No, it depends. It depends on how I look at life. No, kaya, ang sabi niya, pwede yung confidence mo can become a liability. No, that's why sabi niya, I don't believe my own press. Hindi ko pinaniniwalaan yung aking, kumbaga, istorya lang, ini-istorya lang. Which is, makukuha po natin portion niya sa second point. No? I have these strengths and I acknowledge those strengths. I understand I have to manage them for fear that they will actually become liabilities. Totoo eh. Sometimes our strength can become our weakness. In the midst of our strength, pwede tayong maatake doon dahil hindi na tayo nag-guard eh. No? We low down our guard kasi, hindi, malakas ako. Strength ko yan eh. Kalakasan ko yan. Hindi natin alam. Delikado tayo. No? Kaya, kinuwento ni on the other hand, yung kanyang pagiging disorganized. Hindi niya sinasabing maging disorganized tayo, no? Kaya lang sabi niya, yung kanyang pagiging disorganized, in a sense, nakatulong sa kanya. No? Pero ito yung talagang sinasabi niya, good, bad, I don't know. I am not taking pride in my disorganization. Hindi maganda yung pagiging disorganized. Kailangan maganda rin naman yung Pero anong lesson talaga? Ang kanyang tinitingnan palagi, anong lesson na matutuhan ko dito? Maganda nangyari, masama nangyari, it's not in or of itself. It is, what lesson have I learned? Kasi lahat naman tayo may maganda at saka pangit na dadaanan sa ating buhay eh. Ang tanong sa atin hindi lang yung dumaan ka ba sa magandang bagay o dumaan ka sa pangit na bagay sa buhay. Hindi, anong natutukan mo? Kahit sa magandang bagay, meron ka pa rin matututuhan niya. Kahit sabi mong maganda na yan, kumbaga kaaya-aya na yan, mabuti na nga yan, meron ka pa rin matutuhan. Yung mga masama, kahit masama yan, meron ka pa rin matututuhan. No? Pero sabi niya, I've stopped trying to think of things as right decisions, wrong decisions, and now I try to think of them as right decisions and lessons learned. Ano yung aking natutukan? Pero ito yung pinaka-lesson na natutukan niya. Yung pinaka-biggest mistake niya daw sa buhay is this, the false belief that I have to know all the answers, and when I don't, I have to pretend that I do. Yun po ang greatest mistake niya. No? Yung kanyang pananaw sa sarili niya na, I have all the answers. Sige, tanungin niyo ako. Kayang-kaya kong sagutin yan. At kung hindi man niya alam, magpipretend pa rin siya. Kunwari na alam niya. Lalong pwede makasira. Kasi sabi niya, delikado pag may position ka o ranggo ka or kinikilala ka eh. No? Parang may tendency na parang, sige, sagutin nga natin lahat yan. Sige nga, may sagot tayo lahat yan. Sige nga, lahat ng bagay may opinion tayo. Hindi yung masama magkaroon tayo ng opinion sa mga bagay. Kaya nga ang tawag ngayon, hindi lang nag-i-specialize eh. Hindi ho na ngayon, sa kapanahunan ngayon, hindi na ho parang isang bagay lang ang alam natin, na ma-master natin. Meron din mga bagay tayong konti-konti nalalaman sa mga maraming bagay. No? Pero that doesn't mean that we will have all the answers to the questions of people. No? And it turns out, sabi niya, when we have an answer for everything, people actually don't believe we have an answer for anything because nobody has the answers to everything. Merong mga bagay na hindi natin alam. Kaya yung niya kaya ang sinasabi niya, ang natutukan niya magsabi, I don't know. Let's find out together. And there are other people who are better qualified to do that than me. Na-admit niya, yun ang humility. In spite ng successful na siya, marami siyang alam, nag-aaral siya. Hindi ibig sabihin si Simon, hindi siya nagpo-proceed ng pag-aaral. Pero, kumbaga, hindi natin maaaral lahat eh. We just don't have the time to learn everything. We have the time to learn so many things, of course, pero hindi tayo magiging master sa lahat ng bagay eh. Meron pa rin tayong maaaring hindi alam sa isang mga bagay na kahit may konti na tayong alam doon. Kaya, pwede tayong magtanong. Kaya, yun ang kumbaga, nakita ni Simon Sinek sa kanyang buhay. Natutukan niya magsabi, I need help. Natutukan niya magsabi na when something that went right was having the courage to ask for help when I was in really, really bad shape. Parang sinasabi niya, I'm struggling. Parang sinasabi niya, inaamin niya, wala siyang kasagutan sa lahat ng bagay. Napakaganda. Meron ba tayong ganung attitude? Meron ba tayong makukomment doon na masabi natin, yes, marami akong mga bagay na hindi alam, na natutukan ko, ako'y nagugulat kapag meron akong mga tao na pagtanungan. Maganda sabi ni Ryan Holiday, no matter, look at this, no matter what you have done up to this point, you better still be a student. If you're not still learning, you're already dying. It is not enough only to be a student at the beginning. Kasi sa umpisa, di ba, natalakay natin, become a student. Pero ditong portion na to, tinatalakay ni Ryan, always be a student. Never stop learning. Always be a student. Always have the attitude of a learner. Asking questions. Being eager to learn. Being eager to know something. Sinulat pa ni Ryan, nasa book niya, it is a position that one has to assume for life. Learn from everyone and everything. From the people you beat and the people who beat you. From the people you dislike. Even from your supposed enemies. At every step and every juncture in life, there is the opportunity to learn. And even if the lesson is purely remedial, we must not let ego block us from hearing it again. Minsan kasi remedial class tayo eh. Di ba, umuulit na lang tayo. Kasi hindi natin natutukan kaagad eh. O hindi natin in-apply. Kaya yan, remedial class. Di ba? Pag remedial class, umulit. Marami tayong remedial classes sa ating buhay. So if you agree with that, say yes, yes. Yes, remedial class. I've been to remedial classes many times in our lives. We have been to remedial classes in our lives. Continuing, too often convinced of our own intelligence, we stay on a comfort zone that ensures that we never feel stupid and are never challenged to learn or reconsider what we know. It obscures from view various weaknesses in our understanding until eventually it's too late to change course. Delikado. Yung bang parang wala na, hindi ka na makalipat, makabaling. Kasi yabang natin eh. Kasi tingin natin, tayo ang milasay, kumbaga sa maraming bagay sa buhay. Parang hindi tayo willing to learn from other people. Kaya ang nangyayari minsan, nasa side step tayo, na isasantabi tayo. Hindi tayo, kumbaga, magamit tuluyan ng Diyos. Kasi, di ba, may problema tayo sa loob eh. Ralph Waldo Emerson, an American essayist, says, every man I meet is my master in some point, and in that, I learned of him. Master ko yung mga tao. I learn from them. Each of us faces a threat as we pursue our craft. The second we let the ego tell us we have graduated, learning grinds to a halt. That's why, sabi ni Frank Shamrock, di ba, natalakay natin sa portion ng success, ng Aspire yun always stay a student. Hindi lang become a student, but stay as a student. The solution is as straightforward as it is initially uncomfortable. Pick up a book on a topic you know next to nothing about. Put yourself in rooms where you're the least knowledgeable person. That uncomfortable feeling, that defensiveness that you feel when your most deeply held assumptions are challenged. So we will be able to change our mind and change our surroundings. Ang ganda ng pagkasabi niya rin, an amateur is defensive. Ang amateur kasi defensive yan parang laging pag china-challenge siya doon sa kanyang alam na baka sakaling mali yung kanyang alam, o didepensa niya, puprotektahan niya. Instead na, sige nga, tignan ko nga. Sige nga, pag-aralan ko nga, baka mali ako. Sige nga, pag-isipan ko nga yan. The professional finds learning to be enjoyable. They like being challenged and humbled and engaged in education as ongoing and endless process. Yun daw ang, para kay Ryan, yun ang kakaibahan ng isang amateur at saka professional. Hindi lang sa maraming alam, kundi the humility to learn, the humility to hear other people. Winston Churchill, no? The British politician, look at his pride. Sabi niya, I am always ready to learn, but I do not always like being taught. Di ba? Weird, ano? Siguro parang gusto niya, ako lang, kung pag-aalala ko, ako lang, mag-aaral ko yan. Wag mo akong turuan, magagali. Ayaw kong tinuturuan ako. Kaya kita mo yung pride ng tao. Pero gusto sana niya matuto, kaya lang ayaw niya matuto from other people. Wag mo akong tuturuan. Magaling ako, marami na ako alam. Nag-aaral din ako. So, makita natin, walang humility. Kaya, later on, masisira. Ang ganda naman ng isa pang sinulat ni King Solomon, Proverbs 9 verse 9, instruct the wise and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous and they will add to their learning. Kaya, it boils down to the heart of humility. It boils down to our perspective in life. No? Kaya siya wise kasi willing siyang matuto at lalo siya nagiging wise. Yung matuwid na tao, turuan mo, tatanggapin niya karagdagan sa kanyang kaalaman yon. No? Once a long time ago, there was a wise Zen master. People from far and near would seek his counsel and ask for his wisdom. Many would come and ask him to teach them, enlighten them in the way of Zen, in the way of yung kanyang kaalaman. He seldom turned away people. No? One day, an important man, a man used to command, and obedience came to visit the master. Sabi niya, I have come today to ask you to teach me about Zen. Open my mind to enlightenment. Sabi nitong importanteng tao na to. The tone of the important man's voice was one used to getting his own way. Kumbaga parang, sige nga, tulungan mo nga ka, parang ganun siguro rude and mayabang yung kanyang tono. Ang ginawa ng Zen masters, he just smiled and said that they should discuss the matter over a cup of tea. No? And so, dumating na yung tea nila. No? Binigay na yung Zen master dun sa importante na tao, yun yung kanyang cup. Tapos binuhusan niya na sa kanyang teapot. Binuhusan niya hanggang yung mapuno na yung at umapaw na yung At dahil doon natapunan yung robe nung wealthy na mama at importanteng mama, sumigaw ito, enough! You are spilling the tea all over. Can't you see the cup is full? Hindi mo makita, puno na. Ba't di pinutuloy mo pang buhusan? Some of you have heard this. Some of you know this. The master stopped pouring and smiled at his guest and said, you are like this teacup, so full that nothing more can be added. Come back to me when the cup is empty. Come back to me with an empty mind. Balik ka kapag willing ka na matuto. Balik ka kapag totoong may desire ka matuto. Hindi ka magmamayabang at meron ka na naman supposed to be natutukan. No? Ayan, kaya po maraming mga tao sira nasisira sa buhay dahil dyan sa bagay na yan. Dahil hindi sila matuto. Hindi sila willing to learn. What made the Mongols different, sulat ni Ryan, was their ability to weigh each situation objectively and if need be, swap out previous practices for new ones. All great businesses start this way, but then something happens. Take the theory of disruption, which posits that at some point in time, every industry will be disrupted by some trend or innovation that despite all the resources in the world, the incumbent interest will be incapable of responding to. Why is this? Why can't businesses change and adapt? A large part of it is because they lost the ability to learn. They stopped being students. Yun ang problema Kaya maraming minsan businesses na mamatay kasi hindi mag-innovate, hindi sumabay sa kapanahunan. Hindi ibig sabihin na kumbaga magko-compromise ka. Kung hindi, ano ba ang trend? Pag-aralan natin. Ano ba ang, kumbaga, mga pananaw ng mga tao? So, inaaral, a good businessman will study that. Hindi niya pananatiliin yung kanyang practice in the past. Ganito kumikita kami before 30 years, 50 years ago, ganito kumikita kami. Tatalunin siya ng mga marunong mag-adjust, marunong mag-adapt, marunong matuto. Even Peter Drucker, the great American management consultant, ang sabi niya, knowledge has to be improved, challenged, and increased constantly or it vanishes. No? That's why it's not simply enough to learn. As people progress, they must also understand how they learn and then set up the process to facilitate itong continual education. Wala akong katapusan ng pag-aaral. Akala natin, aral tayo, elementary, kagraduate, high school, college, nag-masteral tayo, nag-PhD pa tayo. Akala natin, PhD na ako tapos na. Hindi. Naiiwan pa rin tayo kapag ganun ang attitude natin. Sir Peter Ustinov, ang sabi niya, English actor, he said, it is of primordial importance to learn more every year than the year before. After all, what is education but the progress by which a person begins to learn how to learn? Ang totoong edukasyon, nagsimula ka matuto kung paano matuto. Kaya ang totoong teacher, hindi lang ipapasa lahat ng information, kundi inihahanda ang estudyante na kapag maski wala na yung teacher, itong estudyante naghahanap, nag-aaral, kumbaga, tinuturuan ng sarili. Beginning to learn o how to learn. Nag-aaral. Kaya itong nakaraan na pandemic, di ba? Yung iba, nagamit nila yung panahon na to learn a new craft or improve yung anumang craft na meron sila. Yung iba talagang nagbasa, hindi sila usually nagbasa sila. Yung iba, ang dami natuto sa plants, ang dami natuto sa cooking, ang dami natuto sa carpentry probably. Why? They took advantage of the situation. Many of us probably, I don't know, tayo po, kayo, na nakikinig sa akin. Kung tatanungin tayo, anong isang bagay na natutukan natin during the pandemic? Kahit isa lang. Anong isang bagay natutukan, bago, or na-improve? Isang bagay nagkaroon tayo ng panibagong interest. Gary Paulsen, an American writer of young adults literature, dami pong sinulat, more than 200 articles and books para po sa mga young adults. Ito pong kanyang, kumbaga, reason why he reads. Ang title ng kanyang parang article or poem ito ay, Why Do I Read? Bakit ako nagbabasa? I just cannot help myself. Sabi niya, I read to learn and to grow, to laugh and to be motivated. Makita niya sa ating slide. I read to understand things I've never been exposed to. I read when I am crabby, when I've just said momentarily dumb things to the people I love. I read for strength to help me when I feel broken, discouraged, and afraid. I read when I am angry at the whole world. I read when everything is going right. I read to find hope. I read because I'm made up not just of skin and bones, of sights and feelings, and a deep need for chocolate, but I'm also made up of words. Words describe my thoughts and what's hidden in my heart. Words are alive. When I have found a story that I love, I read it again and again, like playing a favorite song over and over. Reading isn't passive. I enter the story with the characters, breathe their air, feel their frustration, scream at them to stop when they're about to do something stupid, cry with them, laugh with them. Reading for me is spending time with a friend. A book is a friend you can never have too many. Ang ganda nung pagkasulat ni Gary Paulsen na yan. But I'd just like to reiterate itong area ng reading. I have never been really a reader in my life. When I was in high school, elementary, high school, even college, hindi akong palabasa talaga. Until a change happened in my life and I really surrendered my life to God in 1982. And since then, I had the desire to read. Na talagang libro po mga binibili ko. Most especially in the early days of my Christian walk with God. Bihira ako doon bumili ng mga damit. Talagang libro, binabasa ko kasi na-inspire po ako talaga sa mga libro. And I learned so much sa mga books. And up to now, talaga pong I've been a reader. Kaya hindi lang po na ako masyado bumibili ng mga actual na books. Kaya e-books na po, nasa Kindle primarily po. And so I can bring my gadget and be able to read. Whenever merong time, may opportunity to read. Sayang po Sayang po marami tayong matutukuhan no? One of the ways na, of course, kaya nga sinasabi po na not every reader is a leader. But every leader should be a reader. No? Kung leader ka, dapat nagbabasa ka. Kung supposed to be leader ka, dapat you're learning some more. No? Ito po mga successful people na babanggitin kong mga pangalan. Magugulat po tayo sa time na ini-spend nila. Warren Buffett one time said, "The more you learn, the more you earn." And sabi nung writer dito, that is so true. Look at successful people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Oprah, Mark Cuban, and any other highly successful human. They are successful because they use their time right. Ginagamit nila yung oras nila tama. Hindi sila nag-aaksaya. They are successful because they are lifetime learners. They commit to learning new things every single day. Grabe, sa sobrang successful na ng mga tao na yun. Nag-aaral pa rin sila. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest humans on the planet, is famous for reading more than 5 hours every day. Bill Gates reads 1 book per week. Mark Cuban, 3 hours a day. And Oprah, well, she's just obsessed with books. Nang po basahin yung buong kung bakit sila gusto ko lang i-connecta po sa pagbabasa at sa desire to learn. Kaya ganun sila. Hindi lang dahil marami na sila marami ng pera, magpa-relax na lang yan, painom-inom na lang yan, kumbaga papasyal-pasyal na lang. Hindi. Nag-aaral pa rin po sila. Papatuloy ho sila. Write down some comments. Kayo ba mahilig magbasa o kayo ba biglang nagkaroon ng hilig sa pagbabasa? You're not just like me, a born reader. Yung iba talagang bata pa, talagang nagbabasa. Ako hindi ho Later on in life, in my early 20s, saka lang ako talagang nagkaroon ng desire and longing for reading and learning. Kayo ba, meron kayong comment dyan? Sa inyong experience, sa inyong buhay? Na parang ganyang pambagay. I'd like to end dito sa first portion ng ating pag-aaral ngayon in the area po ng isa pong video ulit. It's entitled, Keep Learning. Let's just watch this motivational video about, parang inspirational po ito kung paano ang challenge is just keep learning. Let's just watch the video.
When was the last time you did something for the first time or learned something new? Learning and developing new skills and doing things that give us a sense of achievement are really good for our mental health, especially when we're feeling stressed. By continuing to learn throughout our lives, we can boost our well-being, self-esteem, confidence, and sense of purpose. It also helps us handle stress better. What's more, research shows that learning new things can increase our satisfaction and improve our chances of getting the most from life. There's also the social side of things. Learning can help us connect with others and is a great opportunity to build relationships with new people, giving our well-being even more of a boost. And don't worry, learning doesn't have to mean lots of pricey qualifications. Classes and formal courses are fantastic opportunities, but there are plenty of other ways to bring learning into your life. For example, although new responsibilities at work can be stressful, they can also help us gain new skills, learn new things, and further our careers. Even small targets like reading a chapter of a new book can give us feelings of achievement. For example, learning to play a musical instrument can have a fantastic impact on your mental health. Local classes, groups, books, and online tutorials are easy to find. You could even visit a gallery or museum. Learning about art can be a valuable life experience. Perhaps you'd even like to try your hand at art yourself. Self-guided learning counts too. Try setting yourself a project like DIY around the house, fixing an old bike, painting or crafting. It's easy to find free tutorials for almost anything online. Maybe you've got an old hobby that you'd like to brush up on or fancy a new challenge. Anything from knitting to computer programming. Evening classes are a great way to pick up practical skills like languages, cooking, mechanics, plumbing, and loads more. You don't need to become an expert. Learning things, even as a complete amateur, can improve our mental health. But just remember to leave time for things you find relaxing, like reading, watching TV, exercising, having a nice bath, and so on. You don't always have to fill your time with activity, as it's also important to give yourself breaks. Time spent doing nothing can help us think more clearly and be more productive with whatever we choose to do next. Plus, it's good for our well-being. Anything you choose to learn can have a big benefit for your mental health. Think about something you have stopped doing or always wanted to try and get started today.
No? Ang ganda po, no? Sa umpisa pa lang ang tanong, when was the last time you did something for the first time or learned something new? Nasayang itong pandemic yung mga lockdowns natin, na mga times natin ganun. Oh, sana po sinamantala ho talaga natin. Yung mga new skills ho talaga. No, sana po ginamit po natin yung panahon na to para po talaga tayo matuto po No, kaya ang para dito sa nagawa ng motivational video na to, itong learning helps us handle stress better. What's more, research shows that learning new things can increase our satisfaction and improve our chances of getting the most from life. No, talagang para bang totoo naman pagka meron kang bago natutuhan, nakaka-excite There's also the social side of things then. Learning can help us connect with others and it's a great opportunity to build relationships with new people, giving our well-being even more of a boost. No? Kaya maraming pwede matutukan Kaya ito, part yan reading, part yan classes, part yan arts, music, sobrang dami pong pwede matutukan. No? Of course, you don't always, sabi niya, have to fill your time with activity as it's also important to give yourself breaks, but we need to learn. We need to choose to learn. Anything you choose to learn can have a big benefit for your mental health. Now, think about something you have stopped doing or always wanted to try and get started today. Ang challenge ko po, apply nyo po itong natutukan nyo ngayon. Ano po ba yung bagay na nasimulan nyo o gusto nyo gawin? Simulan nyo talaga. It may not be today, but in the next few days, talagang i-decide po ninyo, i-commit po ninyo sa gagawin ko itong gusto ko matagal ko nang gustong gawin. Sisimulan ko na talaga itong matagal ko nang gustong gawin. And you will see what it can do in your life. What it can do in your relationships. Napaka ganda po ng pag-aaral na yan. Never stop learning. Always be a student. That's the first principle in the area of success. Maaring successful ka na. Unang principle lalo, always be a student. But there's a second thing I'd like us to study today, and that is don't write your own narrative. Ang talagang pagka-title ni Ryan John is Don't Tell Yourself a Story. Pero kinuha ko na lang mas another portion, don't write your own narrative. Huwag mong isulat yung parang istorya mo, sarili mong istorya, parang nagbubuhat ka ng sarili mong bangko. Let me just explain. David Maraniss, an American journalist and author, wrote, "Myth becomes myth not in the living but in the retelling." Ang mga katang-isip, nagiging katang-isip, hindi dahil sa kabuhayan, kundi yung ulit-ulit na iniistorya. Dahil paulit-ulit na istorya, naging myth na. Let me read again si Ryan Holiday. Starting in 1979, football coach and general manager Bill Walsh took the San Francisco 49ers, a football team, from being the worst team in football and perhaps professional sports to a Super Bowl victory in just 3 years. It would have been tempting as he hoisted the Lombardi Trophy over his head to tell himself that the quickest turnaround in NFL, National Football League history had been his plan all along. It would have been tempting decades later when he assembled this memoir to assume that narrative as well. Pwedeng dyan, ang galing namin, pinlano ko talaga ito, na talagang in 3 years time, magiging champion na kaagad kami. Pagkasulat ni Ryan, it's a sexy story that his takeover, his turnaround, and the transformation were assiduously scheduled. Maganda sana pakinggan yun. That it all happened exactly as he wanted because he was just that good and that talented. No one would faulted him if he said that. Kung sinabi niya, kasi magaling naman siya. Yet, he refused to indulge in those fantasies. Dito papasok ang humility. Kaya, napakahalaga yung understanding the way ego works. That's why we need always and always to apply humility and being gracious. Hindi pwede pag malaking, galing ko talaga, naiplano ko yan, pinagandaan ko yan. Talaga, kaya tayo champion kagad. Ryan continued, when people asked Walsh whether he had a timetable for winning the Super Bowl, do you know what his answer was? The answer was always no. Wala akong timetable, hindi ko akalain. Because when you take over a team that bad, such ambition would have been utterly disillusional. The year before he arrived, the 49ers were 2-14, 2 wins and 14 losses. The organization was demoralized, broken, without draft picks, and fully escounded or settled, entrenched na nasanay na sila ng lagi natatalo, kultura ng pagkatalo. His first season, they lost another 14 games. He nearly resigned midway through his second year because he wasn't sure he could do it. Yet 24 months from taking over, there he was, the Super Bowl champion, ang tawag sa kanya, genius. How did it happen? How was that not part of the plan? The answer is that when Bill Walsh took control, he wasn't focused on winning per se. Instead, he implemented what he called the standard of performance, quote-unquote. That is, what should be done, when, how. At the most basic level and throughout the organization, Walsh had only one timetable, and it was all about instilling these standards. Wala siyang timetable na magiging champion. Ang kanyang parang timetable, hindi ma-instill ko, maipasa itong standard of performance, itong basic. He focused on seemingly trivial details. Players could not sit down on the practice field. Coaches had to wear a tie and tuck their shirts in. Everyone had to give maximum effort and commitment. Sportsmanship was essential. The locker room must be neat and clean. There would be no smoking, no fighting, no profanity. Quarterbacks were told where and how to hold the ball. Linemen were drilled on 30 separate critical drills. Passing routes were monitored and graded down to the inch. Practices were scheduled to the minute. Grabe, binalikan lang niya yung detalye, yung details. Yung basic, ika nga. As we will look at another guy. Proverbs 22:29, King Solomon wrote, "Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men." No? Because we will be talking about, the word here is excellence. No? Hindi mo pakinggan yung narrative mo ng galing mo, genius ka, talagang naplano mo lahat. Hindi, pinabutihan mo, ginalingan mo ng ginilingan. In-improve mo na in-improve, excellence yun. John Wooden, the legendary basketball coach, talagang successful college coach ito eh. UCLA for naging dynasty ika nga sa championship yun dahil so in one decade ay grabe 7 yata ang championship siya na gamit niya. Nung tinanong siya more or less anong secret niya, bakit siya nakaproduce ng napakagaling na team, itong sagot niya, we master the basics. We drill over and over again on the fundamentals. Minaster nila ang basic. Kaya pag pinag-aralan natin si John Wooden, pati pagtali ng sintas ng sapatos, pati pagsuot ng medyas, yung mga basic, yung hindi makakairita, kaya kailangan pati medyas tama. Para hindi magkaroon ng blister, para takbo ng takbo mga players niya. Fundamentals, basics. Hindi yung mga highfalutin na strategies ang kanya. Hindi, basic lang, fundamentals. Standard of performance kay Bill Walsh naman. That's why they became champions. I remembered when this video I'd like to show when Dirk Nowitzki, the center ng Dallas Mavericks, he's really a German, naglaro sa NBA. During his retirement, 3 kumbaga Hall of Famers na NBA players gave their comment, their tribute to Dirk Nowitzki. And ito po mga players po sila, Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, and again also another guy, legendary Larry Bird. Let's listen doon po sa kanilang mga sinabi patungkol po kay Dirk Nowitzki.
Well, when I met Dirk Nowitzki, he was 18 years old. We were playing in an exhibition in Germany, and he scored 26 the first half on me. He finished with 42. And I said, son, who the hell are you? He says, I'm Dirk Nowitzki. I says, where you going to college? He says, I'm going in the Army. I says, there are no 7 feet people in the Army. I says, you should go to Auburn University. And I just want to tell you this. You could have made some out of yourself if you had went to Auburn. Yes. Listen, I'm so blessed to have been in the NBA for 30-some years. The first thing people says, what's this guy like? What's this guy like? Because all these guys are great players. Let me say this about Dirk Nowitzki. He's the nicest man ever. Hey, it's been an honor and a privilege to watch you enjoy the rest of your life.
Dirk, thank you. I want the tears to be about this young man tonight. He's been able to inspire us for the last 21 years. Man, you have been an inspiration to me. You know, I love the game of basketball. And I love when people play the game the right way. You played the game the right way, man. You've inspired people all over the world, not just in Germany. I played with a guy from Germany too. But I want to say to you, Dirk, you've inspired me. I've enjoyed watching you over my retirement. And you're one of the best. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, that little girl right there, I remember when she was born. But to put things in real perspective, I was 15 when Dirk came in the league. Now I'm 62. But Dirk, it's been an honor to watch you play over the years. Just like Scotty said, you play the game the right way. The game's better because of you. And one thing I always tell people, especially young players coming in the league, leave the game better than you found it, so this game can continue to go on forever. And being the older gentleman here, the one thing you got to do here now is find out what you want to do. And like I told Scotty years ago, one more year. Well, you guys are too easy. Why not two? But Dirk, thank you for all the memories. God bless you, brother.
Kung mahilig po kayo sa NBA at sa basketball, kilala niyo ho yung mga players na yan. Ganda. Few lang po babanggitin ko. Sabi ni Charles Barkley, di ba? Ang pagkasabi niya kay Dirk, di ba? He is the nicest man ever. Ang sabi pa niya, it's been an honor and a privilege to watch you. Of course, di sila nagkasabay din. Matagal na naka-retire si Charles Barkley nung pumasok si Dirk, no? Scottie Pippen, no? Ang ganda ng pagkasabi. Sabi niya, you know, I love the game of basketball and I love when people play the game the right way. Love kong basketball eh. Kaya love ko yung mga tao na nilalaro ng tama ang basketball. And sabi niya kay Dirk, you played the game the right way. And that inspired me. That inspired so many people. No? Kaya gusto-gusto ni Scottie Pippen. At si Larry Bird. Of course, ganda rin ang pagkasabi niya. Parang kasabi niya, kinote yung portion si Scottie Pippen. Sabi niya, you played the game the right way. Pero dinagdagan ni Larry Bird, the game's better because of you. Gumanda yung basketball dahil sa iyo. The one thing I always tell people, especially young players, sabi ni Larry Bird, live the game better than you found it so this game could continue to go on forever. Iwanan mo yung game na pina-improve mo, pinaganda mo. Yun ang excellence. Kumbaga, yun ang ano na dahil naglaro ka, gumanda ang laro. Dahil naglaro ka, nag-participate ka, na-improve yung basketball, na-improve yung game. Ganun po kaya sila legendary. And Dirk Nowitzki is probably number 6 if I'm not mistaken sa kumbaga all-time scoring. No? Ang gabi po mong ginawa niya. He stayed in one team for 21 years. Talagang naging loyal siya dun sa Dallas Mavericks. Kaya ganun na lang ang appreciation ng crowd sa kanya. No? He loved the game and he played the right way. Kaya ang ganda-ganda ng ano sa kala. You live the game. No? Making it better, sabi ni Larry Bird. Ang ganda ng kumaga ng idea. So, write a comment. Have you done something like that in your life? That when you leave or nag-retire ka sa isang lugar, gumanda ba? Na-improve mo pa yung lugar? Yung iyong opisina? Nakapagpa-improve ka ba ng buhay ng mga tao? Nakapag-iwan ka ba ng mark na masabing talagang gumanda? Gumanda yung isang bagay, isang laro or whatever dahil sa'yo. No? Kaya, continuing, pagkasulat ni Ryan, it would be a mistake to think that this was about control. The standard of performance was about instilling excellence. These seemingly simple but exacting standards mattered more than some grand vision or power trip. In his eyes, kumbaga kay Walsh, if the players take care of the details, the score takes care of itself. The winning would happen. Bill was strong and confident enough to know that the standards would eventually contribute to victory. He was also humble enough to know that when victory would happen, that he was also humble enough to know that when victory would happen was not something he could predict. Hindi dahil na-predict niya, hindi dahil na plano niya. Kumbaga, it was an unexpected break of the game. Hindi niya akalain na mangyayari yon. Look at how Aristotle defined excellence. He said, excellence is an art won by training and habituation. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. Hindi lang ito isang act, hindi lang ito isang event. Excellence is not okay sa isang bagay, napaganda mo, na-improve mo, ganun. Hindi talagang normal sa'yo, naging habit na ng iyong buhay, na lahat ng ginagawa mo, pinagbubutihan mo. Na kung ikaw ay mananampalataya, ang sabi ng scripture sa'yo, whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do it for the glory of God. Whatever you do, give your best as doing it for God, not for man. No? If you name the name of Christ, and you're walking with God, dapat ganun. Habit yun. Attitude yun sa buhay. Na pag may gagawin tayo, gawin natin todo maganda para sa Panginoon. Another definition pa ni Aristotle, sabi niya, excellence is never an accident. It's always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Yung concept niya ng excellence. Hindi aksidente, naging ekselente ka. Because it's a habit eh. Intention mo talaga yan eh. Tutuloy mo eh. Ryan Holiday continued, we want so desperately to believe that those who have great empires set out to build one. Why? So we can indulge in the pleasurable planning of ours. So we can take the full credit for the good that happens and the riches and respect that come our way. Narrative is when you look back at an improbable or unlikely path to your success and say, I knew it all along. Yun yung false narrative eh. Alam ko talaga, ganyan ang mangyayari. Na-figure out ko na eh. Na-plano ko na ganitong mangyayari. Hindi dapat ganun, sabi ni Ryan. Instead, I hope, I work, I got some good breaks, or even, I thought this could happen, or of course you didn't really know all along, or if you did, it was more faith than knowledge. Dapat ganun ang idea, dapat ganun ang attitude. Hindi mo akalain. Pero pinagbutihan mo. Ginawa mo ang tama. Pinractice mo, tinodo mo, pero hindi mo akalain na gano'n ang magiging outcome. Look at what Ryan Holiday continued. Crafting stories out of past events is a very human impulse. It's also dangerous and untrue. Kaya dito ko kinuha yan, writing our own narrative leads to arrogance. Kaya, careful. Careful of writing our stories. Careful of sharing our stories na baka ang narrative na pinalalabas natin ay, hindi, ginawa ko talaga yan. Plinano ko talaga yan. Bill Walsh understood that it was really the standard of performance, the deceptively small things that was responsible for the team's transformation and victory. Kaya, hindi niya gustong tawagin siyang the genius eh. Kasi, yung mga players, sabi, his players shortly proved the risk inherent in letting a story go to their heads. Kasi pagka nanalo ka, yung mga kalaban mo, talagang next year, nag-champion ka ngayon, next year sigurado talagang pahihirapan ka ng mga kalaban. Ngayon, di ba? Last year nag-champion ang LA Lakers. Itong year na to kasi simula ng NBA, tignan mo halos lahat ng team gusto sila pabaksakin sila. Kaya sabi actually after nung panalo nila, they lost 12 of 22 games eh. This is what happens when you prematurely credit yourself with powers you don't yet have control of. No? Kaya ingat. No? Ingat dahil mayabang sila. Hindi, galing na namin, naka-champion kami. Yun, next season. Talo ka. Here's the other part, sulat ni Ryan. Once you win, everyone is gunning for you. Yun sinasabi ko. It's during your moment at the top that you can afford ego the least. Because the stakes are so much higher, the margins for error are so much smaller. If anything, your ability to listen, to hear feedback, to improve and grow matter more now than ever before. Pagka umabot ka na sa success, the more mo kinakailangan magpakababa. The more mo kinakailangan talagang huwag hayaan ng ego makontrol ka. When we are aspiring, we must resist the impulse to reverse engineer success from other people's stories. When we achieve our own, we must resist the desire to pretend that everything unfolded exactly as we have planned. Kaya sabi po ni Jean-Baptiste Henri, Lacordaire, yun po pagka-pronounce. I tried to pronounce it that way. A French preacher, he said, real excellence and humility are not incompatible one with the other. On the contrary, they are twin sisters. Ang excellence, humility, sabayan. Pwede ka maging excelente at humble. Pwede kang humble at gusto mo maging excelente. Okay yun. Hindi masama yun. Hindi yung bang false humility ka. Hindi. Ayokong galingan kasi baka yumabang ako eh. Mayabang ka na, hindi ka pa nga magaling eh. Di ba? Parang minsan ganun eh. Kaya, I will be ending in a short while. A few years ago, sulat ni Ryan, one of the founders of Google gave a talk in which he said that the way he judges prospective companies and entrepreneurs is by asking them if they're going to change the world. Which is fine, except that's not how Google started. Larry Page and Sergey Brin were two Stanford PhDs working on their dissertations. Hindi nila hinangad na makagawa ng Google. It's not how YouTube started. Iniisip ng YouTube na i-change yung mundo. Its founders were trying to reinvent TV. They were trying to share funny video clips. Yun lang ang gusto ng YouTube eh. Kaya lang naiba eh. It's now how most true wealth was created. In fact, ito si Paul Graham, who invested in Airbnb, Reddit, Dropbox, and others, ito po ang pagkasabi niya. The way to do really big things seem to be to start with deceptively small things. Huwag mong hangarin ng sobrang laki na bagoy mong buong mundo. Hindi. Start ka lang. Paunti-unti palaki mo. Yung mga lumaki na lang ngayon kasi laki ng Google, parang wow, grabe ang kanilang headquarters, grabe ang Facebook, grabe ang YouTube, grabe ang Microsoft, grabe, di ba? Parang ang Amazon, parang pagkatinignan natin, grabe, hindi, nag-start sila maliit. Hindi sila ganyang kalaki kaagad. They improved and improved. Yung basic, yung standard of performance nila, binagbutihan lang, in-improve nila, na-improve, kaya lumaki, kaya ganyan sila kalaki. Pero hindi sila ganyan nag-start. Hindi nga nila akalain ang magiging ganyan sila eh. Ang sinasabi, ibig sabihin ni Paul Graham, na ang dami niyang ininvestan, kaya nga, start deceptively small. He's saying you don't make a frontal attack out of ego. Instead, you start with a small bit, and iteratively scale your ambitions as you go. Ang famous advice ni Paul Graham is this: keep your identity small. No? Maliit lang. Simple ka lang muna. Start mo sa maliit. That's why, see, in the Hebrew scriptures, we will look at Daniel, isang verse lang na sinasabi, anong pananaw tungkol kay Daniel? No? A Hebrew youth na kumbaga in exile. Anong pagkasulat niya? Sa Daniel chapter 6 verse 3, then this Daniel became distinguished above all the other high officials and satraps because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Hindi siya Hebrew. Hindi siya Babylonian. Pero gusto siyang itaas ng hari. Kasi meron nakitang espiritu sa kanya. An excellent spirit. No? Kaya, delikado, pagkasulat ni Ryan, there's a real danger in believing it when people use the word genius. Genius ka talaga. Galing mo talaga. Delikado. And it's even more dangerous when we let hubris or pride tell ourselves we are one. Kasi sinabi, genius talaga ako. Napag-isipan ko talaga. The same goes for any label that comes along with the career. Pagka yung filmmaker ka na, kapag ka writer ka na, kapag investor ka, entrepreneur, executive ka na. Now, we think we have accomplished. We have planned it all out. Ryan Holiday finally said, these labels put you at odds not just with reality, but with real strategy that made you successful in the first place. From that place, we might think that success in the future is just the natural next part of the story. And when really it is rooted in work, creativity, persistence, and probably luck. Medyo sinuwerte ka ng konti. Kaya daw ang Google, nag-expand sila. Google Glass, Google Plus, hindi kumita eh. Kaya sabi niya, instead of pretending that we're living some great story, we must remain focused on the execution and on executing with excellence. Theodore Martin, a Scottish poet, wrote, excellence in any art or profession is attained only by hard and persistent work. Never believe that you are perfect. When a man imagines, even after years of striving, that he has attained perfection, his decline begins. Magsisimula na siyang bumaksak. Sisimula na siyang maapektuhan. Kaya po, allow me to show you the last video po. Ito pong video po about the United States Air Force. It's a concept or motivational po ito na kung how they are defined. And ito po, ang US Air Force po, they are defined by excellence. Let's just watch this video.
When we told people we were in the Air Force, they always asked, what kind of plane do you fly? We didn't all join the Air Force to be pilots. We joined the Air Force because we were different. We saw things differently. We looked for better ways. We expected more out of ourselves. The Air Force was a place where excellence is a standard, not an achievement. We knew we had it in us to do things other people didn't have the strength, the vision, or the courage to do. The world was full of people who would sure try real hard and then tell you they were sorry. That wasn't us. That's not you. We go faster, we go higher, we go farther, we do more, and we do better every day. We find a way. Excellence in everything we do, no matter what you do. There are no small jobs in the Air Force. You don't hide here. This is no place for lazy. or having a bad day. There's a reason the crew chief's name is on the plane. Everything matters. The uniform we issued broke the sound barrier. The reports we filed put bombs on target. The meals we cooked fueled this Air Force. Greatness will emerge in the places it is required. Your name may not make the history books or a plaque on a wall, but one day your name will be written in stone, just like ours. We will all be remembered by the people whose lives we changed, by the airmen we served with, by the values we honor every day. Excellence is our standard. Excellence is our tradition. Excellence is not what you reach for. Excellence is the foundation you stand on to reach higher. We were never given permission to be average. Not from our superiors, not from our country, not from ourselves. We gave everything. We didn't leave any jobs for you to finish. We left a mission for you to continue. Aim high, Airmen.
Maganda po yung motivation. Kaya pag daw sabi nila, di ba, when we told people we were in the Air Force, they always ask, what kind of plane do you fly? We didn't all join the Air Force to be pilots. We joined the Air Force because we were different. No? Grabe, ang ganda ng kanilang konsepto dito sa sa pagiging Air Force. No? Dahil excelente, dahil may magagawa sila. Kaya nga ang concept nila, excellence is the foundation we stand on. To reach higher, we were never given permission to be average. Not from our superiors, not from our country, not from ourselves. We gave everything. We didn't leave any jobs for you to finish. We left the mission for you to continue. Aim high. No? Kaya yung parang yung sinasabi ni Larry Bird kay Dirk Nowitzki, na sinasabi niya, no, tinaas mo yung standard You played the game the right way No? Iniwan mo na maganda ang basketball No? Hindi mo lang, kundi lang basta naglaro ka, kumita ka, yumaman ka. Hindi, in-improve mo, pinaganda mo yung laro. Yun ang concept ni na sinasabi ni Larry Bird tungkol kay Dirk That's why he's respected. No? He became a champion. Finally, let me end. Harvey Mackay shared a story about a cab driver that proved the spirit of excellence. Sabi niya, he was waiting in line for a ride at the airport. When a cab pulled up, the first thing Harvey noticed was that the taxi was polished to a bright shine. Manlinis ang kintab. Smartly dressed in a white shirt, black tie, and freshly pressed black slacks, the cab driver jumped out and grounded the car to open the back passenger door for Harvey. No, talagang palang special lumabas. Binagbuksan. And he handed si Harvey ng laminated card and said, I am Wally, your driver. While I'm loading your bags in the trunk, I'd like you to read my mission statement. Hindi. Yung cab driver, taxi driver, merong mission statement. No? Binasa ni Harvey yung mission statement, nakalagay, to get Wally's mission statement. Doon sa maliit na, kumbaga, parang calling card, laminated card. To get my customers to their destination in the quickest, safest, and cheapest way possible in a friendly environment. Di ba? Grabe, no? Ang mga taxi driver, di ba, na well-known dati, no? Na-improve naman, naayos naman dahil, dati iikot-ikot ka, palalayuin ka para lumaki ang bayad mo, No? Yung bang pag sumakay ka, pepresyon ka, may dagdag ito, ganun. Kaya maiinis ka sa mga driver. Ito, kakaiba itong driver na to. Malinis yung sasakyan at meron pang mission statement. So pagkapasok ni Harvey doon, tinanong siya ni Wally, would you like a cup of coffee? I have a thermos of regular and one of decaf. Sabi ni ni Harvey, I prefer a soft drink. Wally smiled and said, no problem. I have a cooler up front with regular and Diet Coke, water, and orange juice. Nagulat si Harvey na pautal na, I'll take a Diet Coke. Handing him his drink, Wally said, "If you would like something to read, I have the Wall Street Journal, Times, Sports Illustrated, and USA Today." Meron siyang magazine at meron siyang newspaper. As they were pulling away, Wally handed my friend, si Harvey, another laminated card. Ang nakalagay, "These are the stations I get and the music they play. If you'd like to listen to the radio." Kung gusto mo. And as if they weren't enough, Wally told Harvey that he had the air conditioning on and asked if the temperature was comfortable for him. Then he advised Harvey of the best route to his destination for the time of the day. He also told him that he'd be happy to chat and tell him about some of the sights, or if Harvey preferred to leave him with his own thoughts. Grabe yung driver. Okay lang ba? Papaano ko sa'yo? Parang tour guide siya ng kanyang syudad. Mahal niya yung syudad. Mahal niya yung pagdadrive niya. No? Grabe yung pananaw. "Tell me, Wally," sabi ni Harvey, "have you always served customers like this?" And Wally smiled into the rearview mirror and said, "No, not always. In fact, it's only been in the last 2 years. My first 5 years driving, I spent most of my time complaining like all the rest of the drivers do. Then I heard the personal growth guru Wayne Dyer on the radio one day. He had just written a book called You'll See It When You Believe It. And Wayne said, if you get up in the morning expecting to have a bad day, you'll really disappoint yourself." Kung pagising mo sa umaga, pagkasulat ni Wayne, in-expect kong masama ng panahon, masama ang mangyayari sa araw na to, sigurado, mukhang yan ang mangyayari sa'yo. Kaya sabi ni Wayne daw, stop complaining. Differentiate yourself from your competition. Don't be a duck. Be an eagle. Duck, quack. Ducks quack and complain, eagles soar above the crowd. Yun ang pagka-explain itong driver kay Wally. Kay Harvey, rather. And that hit me right between the eyes. Sabi ni Wally, yun ang pagkarinig niya kay Wayne, senior niya kay Harvey. Dyer was really talking about me. I was always quacking and complaining. So I decided to change my attitude and become an eagle. I looked around at the other cabs and their drivers. The cabs were dirty, the drivers were unfriendly, and the customers were unhappy. So I decided to make some changes. I put in a few at a time. When my customers responded well, I did more. Kaya kapag naging excelente ka, lalo ka na-inspire, lalo mo napapaganda, lalo ka nagiging creative, lalo ka nagiging, gaganahan sa ginagawa mo . Driver lang yun. Hindi siya driver lang. He's an excellent guy. Sabi ni Harvey, I take it that has paid off for you. Siguro kumita ka niyan. Dahil dyan sa ginawa mo. Sabi ni Wally, it sure was. It sure has, actually. My first year as an eagle, I doubled my income from the previous year. This year, I'll probably quadruple it. You were lucky to get me today. I don't sit at cab stands anymore. My customers call me for appointments on my cell phone and leave a message on my answering machine. If I can pick them up myself, I get a reliable cabby friend to do it and I take a piece of the action. Kapag kaya, may kita siya doon sa iba na nirekomenda niya na maayos. Sabi nung nag-storya na to, Wally was phenomenal. He was running a limousine service out of a yellow cab taxi. I probably told the story to more than 50 cab drivers over the years and only 2 took the idea and ran with it. Whenever I go to their cities, I give them a call. The rest of the drivers quack like ducks and told me all the reasons they couldn't do any of what I was suggesting. Sabi nung writer na to, grabe, people just like ducks quack, complaining with life . Kaya hindi sila makaangat sa buhay. Wally, the cab driver, made a different choice. He decided to stop quacking like ducks and start soaring like eagles. Now, write a comment. What are you? Are you a duck that quack and complain? Or are you an eagle that soar? Huh? No one can make you serve customers well. That's because great service is a choice. Ikaw yung pumipili niyan. Kung pagsisilbihan mong customer mo. Maaring hindi ka involved sa mga customers literally, pero ang customer mo probably your co-employees. Kung estudyante ka at kung papasok na kayo at mag-face-to-face kayo, ang customer mo, teacher mo, customer mo, kapwa estudyante mo. Wherever you are, you will find customers. Whatever your situation and position in life, you have customers to treat well. No? You have customers that you can exercise excellence. But it's up to you eh. It's up to me. Will I decide to give excellent service? Or will I be just like the rest? Many people quacking, complaining. It's your decision. Remain a student, learn, and give the best. Your excellent work. It's your choice. I hope we make the right choice. Para bang kaya Larry Bird was so right eh. Sinabihan si Dirk, you left the game and made it better. Sabi ni Scottie Pippen, I love the game being played the right way. I hope you learned so much today. Apply it in your lives. Apply it to others. And see how success will happen in your life. Let's pray. Lord, napakabuti mo at tapat mo sa aming buhay. Maraming salamat, O Lord God, na paninimulaan lang namin sa mga maliliit na bagay. At habang ginagawa namin maliliit na bagay with excellence, continuing with the basics, performing faithfully and doing it well, nasasanay at maging habit po namin ito. Salamat, O Lord God, ng mga nakikinig, O Lord God, ay ma-challenge, Lord God, to be the best that we can be. That we can be like other people who have made it in life. Hindi sila nag-start ng malaki kaagad. Start sila sa maliit, in-improve, pinaganda, pinabutihan, pinaayos nila, at sila ay lumaki. Salamat, Panginoon, O Lord God, na magtatagumpay ang bawat isa. Dahil unang-una, O Lord God, kumonekta sa iyo. Dahil unang-una, Panginoon, nakikinig sa iyo at Lord God, natututo sa iyo at marunong makinig sa ibang tao. Merong, O Lord God, wisdom to listen to other people, the humility, Lord God, to learn from others. And Lord God, even the humility, Lord God, to go on improving and our craft or whatever you have given us, O Lord God, na aming pagbutihan. Salamat, O Lord God, makilala kami bilang isang tao, O Lord God, na ginagawa ang best, O Lord God. Makilala kami, Lord God, na nag-i-improve kami ng lugar, ng bagay kung saan man kami na italaga, Panginoon. I pray that for each one. I pray that for every family. I pray that for every student. I pray that for every father and mother. I pray that for every worker. I pray that for every businessman. I pray that for every doctor, medical practitioner, whatever they're doing, oh Lord God, I pray, Lord God, that we can become the best that we can be. That we can improve our craft. That we can excel. Lord God, that we can make it right. Salamat po, Panginoon, sa mga pananaw na aming natutukan sa araw nito. Tulungan mo lamang po kami ma-apply ito. Huwag po kami maging mga ducks, quacking and complaining, that we can become eagles soaring above. Thank you for the insights we've learned, and thank you for the opportunity once again to give our tithes, our offerings, as a sign, oh Lord God, that we are, Lord God, learning from you. We are, Lord God, participating in the extension of your kingdom to make it, Lord God, better. Salamat po sa opportunity ngayon. Salamat po, pagpalain mo po kami sa aming buhay. Sa darating na linggo na ito, Lord God, nawa na lumakbay kami ng may pananampalataya. pagtitiwala, at paggawa, O Lord God, na maging kaaya-aya sa iyo. Salamat po sa opportunity na aming haharapin sa linggong ito. Lord, be with us. Just be with us in our journey. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagsama ulit sa araw na to. Sundan niyo po kami sa aming Facebook page at please share the link pag-post po natin, and go to our YouTube channel, Bread of Life GenSan, to share the other videos na nakatulong po sa inyo. I-share nyo rin po yung ibang videos na sa ibang pong mga tao para rin po sila ay makalakbay po sa Panginoon. Salamat po. Nawa na samahan kayo ng Diyos sa inyo pong lakbayin sa linggong ito. God bless you.